This is the Family Friendly Schools training tape for Christine Rowe. Today is September 1st, 2010. Let me kind of give you the setup. I'm imagining that this is a school or district-wide training. We've got about 10 schools. There's like 4 to 6 people sitting at 12 different tables. Each school has all the representative members, parents and administrators and teachers and support staff. And the district has also brought over, besides the superintendent, they've got a bus driver, they've got program people like After School, Even Start, Head Start, that kind of thing. They've done a very good job of bringing in members. They even have a board member who happens to be involved with the local Boys and Girls Club. And among the parents, we've got one that's a pastor at a local church. We've got one that's a family liaison with Migrant Ed. So the parents themselves are also represent community members. So it's about noontime. I'm going to do the afternoon for day 1, which is section B, building capacity. And it's getting close to 1 o'clock and everybody's coming back in for lunch. So I guess I better start the training. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. It wasn't a very long lunch and I really appreciate your coming back on time. It's 1 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and start. Our section for the afternoon is going to start with building capacity. And you can help, if people come in late, you can go ahead and catch them up at your individual tables. At lunchtime, we were kind of sharing some stories about parents that are not engaged, parents that are not involved. Some people were saying it's almost as if they didn't care about their children. But I was going to say I've worked with a number of schools, not just across the United States, but a little bit in Europe and a little bit in South America. And I don't believe I've ever met a parent that didn't really want their child to succeed. They wanted the best for their child. I remember I was working with a family literacy project in a really small rural town in Northern California called Corning. And the adult classes for ESL and citizenship were from 7 to 9 in the evening because it was the only time that parents could get away to be able to come. And some of these mothers, some of them were migrant mothers working in the fields 7 days a week. They were getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning to make the tamales, get the school lunches ready, get everybody else out the door. I don't know how they did it. One mother had 11 children. I don't know how they did it. I know they really wanted to learn English, to be able to help their children, some of them to help them in school and didn't know how. And I had another student. He was the youngest in a family from Rio de Janeiro. And the father and mother, they had money, they were wealthy. The father owned, I think it was an international engineering company. And he would travel quite a bit all over the world, and the mom would go with him. And so they were gone quite a bit, and each of the children were in a separate private school. And the mother decided that she wanted to be involved in the kids' school. So her idea was that she would get a flying license, and that way she could fly to the different schools where the kids were. Well, the father wasn't quite sure that he was comfortable with her flying around South America by herself. So what he did for her birthday was not get her flying lessons and not get her an airplane. What he did was he bought her own airport. It was about 30 miles outside of Rio de Janeiro, so the chauffeur could take her there anytime she wanted, and she could fly anywhere in the world to be at her kid's school. So the key point is there's lots of different obstacles for parents being involved, and there's a lot of different solutions. But I think the problem is parents don't know how to help, maybe they don't know where to start, and I think that's also the same thing for us, and that's what we're going to do now is figure out where to start by taking the first step in building capacity. The first step is we're going to look at what I can't do in terms of being able to get things done, which is what capacity is. I remember also in college, I don't know where it came from, but I had kind of a survivalist kind of attitude. And I was taking judo and first aid and backpacking, survival skills and that kind of thing. And I really also wanted to take an automotive class, something for maintaining my car by myself, and I never could get myself over to the class. The Butte Community College had a maintenance class that looked like it'd be really good. But I had a little tiny car. It was a Subaru, which has, I think it was pink and orange psychedelic flowers on top. It was so small you could almost fold it up and put it in your pocket. But I never made it over the class, but Johnny Samples, who's the Chief Academic Officer for Family Friendly Schools, she took a class, and she drove a Trans Am. had great big huge tires, and she got over to her class and laid out all her tools, had everything set out and ready to go, and was reading the instructions of what they were supposed to do. And the very first assignment was to replace your tire. Well, she's looking at this big old tire, and she's looking at the lug nuts and the lug tool or thing or whatever it is, and she's trying to figure out how she can do it, and she's pushing and pushing, and nothing's moving. And of course the guy next to her, he's already finished by then, so he comes over and he says, "Can I help you?" And Johnny says, "Well, sure, that would be really helpful." So he gets it all done, and Johnny steps back, and the next step is to take the tire off. Well, again, she's sitting there kind of staring at it, and the fellow came over and volunteered to help her and took it off for her, and that's kind of the way the whole class went for her. But by the end of that class, Johnny had figured out that she had learned everything she needed to know, that she could fix absolutely any and every problem with her car with only 2 basic tools: a AAA membership and a credit card. And so she didn't go back to class. She decided someone else would take care of her car. So one of the things about developing your own capacity and skills is not everybody can do everything. In fact, nobody can do everything. But everybody can do something. And working together, nothing can stop you. And that's the capacity we want to see you build. So let's step into step 1 of building capacity. And the first place to start is with ourselves. So we're going to look at building your capacity. We've got 3 questions here. I think the easiest thing to do is I'm going to just start at this side of the room, and I'm just going to whip across, and I'm going to pick volunteers to answer the first question. What skills do you have? What's something that you're already good at? Would you like to start? Gardening? Okay, you're really good at gardening. Great. Next. Cooking? Enjoy cooking? That's really good. Eating? Okay. I can see eating as a skill. All right, that sounds good. And encouraging. Encouraging is definitely a capacity building skill. So there's skills that we have. But the next layer to understanding your capacity are the skills that you would like to acquire. Question number 2. So let's start at this side of the room. And what skills would you like to acquire? What would you like to be able to do? Number 1, you'd like to do fly fishing. Okay, fly fishing. Singing. Playing the piano. And painting. Okay, those are all valuable things to want to be able to learn. Let's focus in on singing. And now at your table groups, what I'm going to have you do is try to help, was it Joe? Okay, we're going to help Joe learn about how he can sing. And so what would it take for Joe to acquire singing skills? I'd like you to, in your table group, to talk about that. I'll just give you a few minutes. Come up with as many different ways that you can think of that Joe could learn how to sing. And you can go ahead and start now. Just take a couple of minutes. Let's see how many ideas we can come up with. Okay, thank you very much. I heard some really interesting ideas. Joe, I think we're gonna be able to fix you up here. To volunteers, anybody that would like to share some ideas you came up with? Okay, yes, he could get a singing tutor. That's a good idea. He could get a tape or a CD that would teach about singing. Computer program, yes. Practicing in the shower, did I hear that? Okay. If we work with this a little deeply, we could come up with an entire list of strategies and strategies, I guess a better word, that Joe could use to be able to learn how to sing. And that would develop his capacity to be able to sing. So the next step, we'll look at this exercise and we'll apply it to the whole school. But before we do that, I want us to look at what we just did. Because it felt kind of simple. We're just discussing what skills do you have, what would you like to learn or acquire, and how would you do that. But the process has many more layers to it. And one of the things we talked about earlier in the morning is how by reframing and changing your thinking, you're actually changing your chemistry. And it takes a while for your chemistry to catch up to your new thinking skills. So let's step aside a little bit and look at that little simple exercise we just did and analyze why that is a process for developing capacity, and then we will move into applying it to your school so you have capacity to accomplish what you want to do at the school. So what did we do first? Anyone? What did we do first? Yes, we started asking questions. That's where we started with the activity. You could actually say that the very moment you came back from lunch and you saw the words building capacity up on the overhead, maybe it's a PowerPoint, anyway, that's when you begin to see the word capacity and you begin to think about it. So the first thing you actually probably did was think. Then we began to ask questions and discuss them and talk with each other. What else were you doing? You were writing ideas down. Some of you, I could see you staring off in the distance, so I'm imagining that you were picturing something. Maybe you were thinking of the past, maybe you were thinking of the future, maybe you were actually seeing pictures in your mind of ways Joe can acquire singing. There was discussing with each other, sharing it. So there's a number of mental skills that were going on that was opening up all of these options for Joe to be able to have a list of ways that he could acquire singing skills. So based on that, let's go ahead and look at this slide and step into step 2. And we'll start first by just thinking about it and discussing it. This will end up moving into an activity where we're writing things down, but so you can go ahead and take notes if you want. But for right now, let's just have you talk at your table groups, identifying what skills do you already have in place with the people at your school, and think about your school as a system and the people in it and the different parts of your system. And think of people not just in their role. You've got a teacher, you've got a bus driver, but think of them also as skill sets. Maybe your role might be a bus driver, but your skill set might include being able to play piano, jazz on Friday nights. And so thinking outside of the box and including people's entire subset in order to build the creativity for developing capacity. So go ahead, give you a few minutes. What is in your school? And that's where I'm going to go ahead and stop on this example. I thank you very much, and I will see you soon.